What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Friday night special here at the Win Daily Sports Network. I'm Dave Gloeckner. That's Joel Schrek. It's Gloeck and Schrek with some college football, baby. Joel said it last week. He loved the slate. Guess what? I love it this week. I think we both, had a solid week last week. But Joel, let's go over. I think we talked about it earlier. Where you sat and your special kind of way of assessing the slate with max lineups, you did something interesting, you told me. You only played 3 quarterbacks over 150 lineups. That's interesting, but you hit. Tell people why that works.
Yeah, I had a big week. I think, the more I play college, the more I settle into the best thing you can do is limit your mistakes more than hit on the upside, right? And what I mean by that is the more you try and take shots on guys that you might one time be able to get there, you're diluting your chances of a win. And I was really dialed in last week on those 3 guys that I thought had the best opportunity, the best upside. And it's also very price related, right? Like this week is going to be the exception. We'll talk about it in a few minutes, but 90% of the time you don't pay up for a quarterback because there's going to be a lower price quarterback that is going to have a big week. Over 14 games that are on these slates, you're going to have to find that lower price guy because that guy with the higher price running backs and receivers are what win these things. Even if you hit the high-priced quarterback that gets there, finding the low-price steals at receiver and running back are way harder in college. And so that's what I was focused and dialed in on. What are my value quarterbacks that I thought had that upside? Those are the 3 guys. I went all in on them, and I was right.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I mean, I know Jaden Daniels was high on the charts. It's interesting because we both liked the receivers, but he went to just that one last week, and that was huge in many big lineups to have an LSU stack. And then the Utah quarterback was one of your bigger plays too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I was on that U2 quarterback early. I mean, listen, they were playing in Division I AA school. They were totally outmatched. He's a running quarterback. He was totally underpriced. The ownership wasn't as high as I thought it should have been. I mean, he came in a little over 20%. He should have been in the 40s at a $4,500 in the matchup that he was in. So that obviously worked out really well. And because he's only 4,500, I could have afforded that risk, right? He rushed for the first touchdown of the game. He had to do very little after. He ended up having a good game, but he had to do very little after that to pay off that $4,500 price tag. So understand that you can take more risk at a lower price point. The more you pay, the less risk that you're able to take on.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into this one. Like you said, 14-game slate is huge, but it's great for opportunities in the GPPs. Like, it's so important that as we get a bigger, wider net here, we're able to narrow in on the winners, and that's what gets you cashing, and that's what gets you to the top of the leaderboard. And I'll say this, tomorrow is the best slate probably the year in college football. Not just from what we're looking at DFS. The games are amazing. We got Clemson, Florida State. You got Colorado, Oregon. You got Alabama, Ole Miss. And then we got the nightcap with some Notre Dame, Ohio State. I'm probably missing one. I know Penn State, Iowa is also out there. But so many really good games tomorrow. So playing DFS, watching college football, it's going to be a great Saturday. Let's kick it off, Joel.
I love it. It is going to be a fun Saturday. I'm excited for tomorrow. A lot of games on the slate, big slate, makes it challenging. But for me, it's pretty easy to narrow down the scope. There's some games that you can pretty easily fade or ignore, and we can focus in. So we'll start with the first game we have on the slate, Florida State, Clemson. As will be affected by a lot of games tomorrow, there's some weather. Do you think that weather will have any concern for this game?
It's funny you say that because I jumped on the Clemson, South Carolina site and weather, and it's shown pretty clear. I know DraftKings is showing some rain, so I'm going to trust more. It's going to be decent out there. And either way, regardless, I think this one's a sneaky game. I think it's really sneaky from the standpoint of people are going to think Clemson, great defense, Florida State, solid defense, but it's got a decent total at 55, and it's got some star power in this. So I think there are some plays to be made in this game.
For sure. Tell me. So we'll start on the Florida State side. Who are you looking at?
Well, they struggled last week in Boston College. Complete look ahead, right? I mean, let's factor in Jordan Travis got hurt right near half. There were some concerns that his shoulder was bad. He came back in, was a little rusty in the third. and they let Boston College get back into it. But the key, and what I'm focusing on, Keon Coleman did not really get loose in that game. I think for whatever reason, Boston College was able to hold him down a little bit. He has a big one this week. I like Keon Coleman a lot. And if I was going to go cheap on Florida State, Bell, the receiver at 4,800, I also like. I think that's a good, or 4,600, Jaheim Bell. I think those two receivers could have a big week.
Yeah, Bell's their tight end, and he's one of the better tight ends in the country. I like that call as well. For me, I'm actually going to be pretty light on this game. I don't think this game ends up being as explosive as I like as in terms of a game in mind. I think it's going to be a very good game.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure we see the fireworks. I mean, Jordan Travis is a great player, but at 9,400, there's another quarterback up there that I'd prefer. So because of that, because both of these defenses are formidable, I'm actually going to be pretty low exposed to this game for the most part.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. I think this is a ones and twos for me. Maybe I'll see a two-man stack, but not much more than that in this game, and maybe not even run backs. I'll probably get very selective. If I'm going to go anywhere with Clemson, I do think there's still value in Shipley, and I do think Williams has some value too. They're both under 6K, which is, a nice little number. But here's what I know. I'm not paying up 9,400 for Travis, but he does have the similar mold to Riley Leonard, who did light up Clemson early in the year. So if you want to get a little daring there and get a little off script, you could go with Travis. But I'm with you. There's so much. If you're going to pay up, we're going to talk about something later. There's two of them that I would favor over Travis.
I agree. But I also agree with the Shipley call. Shipley seems underpriced in this spot. We know Shipley has extreme upside. He's their best player on offense. So to get him under 6K certainly has the upside to pay off.
Yep.
All right, let's move over to this Marshall Virginia Tech game. This is interesting. Virginia Tech's run defense is atrocious. I mean, really bad.
Oh, bad.
Really bad. So you just want to find ways to attack them on the ground. One of the best running backs in the country is Marshall's running back, Rasheen Ali.
Mm-hmm.
They've priced him up a little bit. But the reality was, early in the season, they underpriced him. That was just a mistake. Now he is priced correctly. Not that he's overpriced. This is just what he should be. And he's in the dream matchup of the year. So for me, Rasheen Ali is the running back of the day. Lock him in. I will be playing a lot of him. How about you, Dave?
I have a star around him. He a lot is a good word, and it's over 50% potentially. I'll see where I get, but the price is right. And like you said, so bad. Vitek so bad against the rush. They've allowed 220 yards per game to teams, FBS teams. And that's just a sieve. Ali hasn't even he's been blowing it up at like 7 yards a carry, but he hasn't even got a high dose of running yet. 17 carries, I think, was his high so far. If he goes over that, we're talking 30-plus point game potential. So love him. And I'm going to tell you, we talked about quarterbacks paying down. Kyron Drones is someone I'm very, very interested in this week. 5,800 for Vitek. He came in last week, played against, I think it was Rutgers, 22 carries, Joel. And then he still threw for 230. As long as, and I think they've kind of given up on the starter Wells. So Drones looks really juicy at 5,800, and especially a guy that could get 20-plus carries.
I think it's really interesting. 20 carries. That's what you're looking for in DFS. It's the dual ability to get points. If he's going to get 20 carries, I agree. That's a spot where you got to look at him at under 6K. So I like that call. I'll also put Francher on your radar just because he's also under 6K. And like I said, he runs too. He had 15 carries. He didn't do much with them, but if there's ever a time to do something with your carries, it's against Virginia Tech. It's a get-right spot. They've gotten absolutely obliterated by running quarterbacks. This seems like a spot where he could be surprising, probably under-owned, and it hit some upside here in this matchup.
Would you pair him with Ali?
You can.
You can, right?
It's awkward to do in a 14-game slate where there's so many other spots to go. I think it depends how you're playing. If you're going for the biggest GPP, I probably wouldn't, just because you're really trying to maximize your score. But I think in a small tournament or any other type of tournament, I think you certainly can. I think they both have the ability to get a lot of points.
I agree with that. And I agree with the large tournament stance here. You want one of those two to get the touchdown. You don't want one to get one, the other to get one. You want someone to get two. You want someone to get 3. You don't want them to share them. So in a big GPP, I don't, but in a smaller, absolutely. I agree.
I agree. Well, for sure. For sure. All right, let's move over to the Cincinnati-Oklahoma game. This one's interesting. Gabriel, to me, Gabriel's as good as anybody.
Yeah.
This isn't like the game environment everyone's going to talk about, but if you want to be different, there's some potential here. I mean, the Oklahoma team can score. Gabriel can do it with his legs. He does it with his arms. But what I really am more interested in, to be honest with you, is the quarterback on the other side. Florida transfer, Emory Jones, who, let's just look at the running upside. 20 carries, 100 yards, and a touchdown last week against Miami, Ohio. 2 touchdowns against Eastern Kentucky. With that running upside against a team that they should be losing to and playing behind and relying on him to bring them back, to get him under 7K, I think Emory Jones got some real upside in this game.
I mean, he averages 31 DK points. He's under 7K. This is a star among stars in this weekend slate. I really like it. I mean, Oklahoma, we know they got Brent Venables, should be a defensive-minded team, but they're not. They're out there slinging, especially with Gabriel. This total's about the 3rd highest on the board this weekend, so we're gonna see points. So love the Emory Jones call. And on the Oklahoma side, my favorite is Adrell Anthony. I mean, we talked about him earlier in the season, but this guy's been really, really good for Oklahoma. Now, still only priced at 5,300, averaging 16 DK points. He has the most targets on the team. I just think he's mispriced. So I like Andrell, Anthony, the best from the Oklahoma side.
I am aligned with you on that, and I agree. It's the underpriced. I mean, I just think this is a guy who's the featured receiver on this team. He should be a little bit more. He's had 3 solid games already.
Yep.
And let's not forget, week 1, 73-0. I can't imagine he played more than a half.
Right.
20-11. They're not really throwing the ball a ton at the end of that game. 66-17. Again, another one where they don't need to continue to throw. This should be the most competitive game they have this year, where he'll just have opportunities for 4 quarters. So I think this should be, in theory, his ceiling game.
Yeah, I agree. So he's my favorite on that side. Again, probably not a full game stack, but definitely some pieces here.
The other one I want to mention is Henderson. Both of him and Jones came over from Florida together. Yeah. Henderson has been his go-to target. I mean, he caught 12 balls last week, 12 passes in the college football game. That's a ton of passes. Yep. To get him at 6,300, I think the price is fair. He's got 2 30-point games already. Certainly a ton of upside here. I will be pairing Henderson with Jones and plenty of my lineups.
It's funny. I got a lot of Xaviers on my target this week, and that's one of them.
I love it. All right. We can move on over to this TCU-SMU game. Big total here. Vegas likes this game. I'll be honest with you. I don't love it as much. I think that TCU had some really beneficial game scripts in the beginning of the year that had their points high. I think this SMU defense is not as bad as it has been in years past. I think the number is a little too high in this game. I'm probably not targeting anyone from SMU. Maybe their tight end because he's really cheap. I might look at where is SMU's tight end? Maryland. At 3,400, they get him involved. And on the TCU side, it looks like they have one receiver that's kind of emerging as the guy you can consider in Richardson. But, other than that, I'm just not that heavily invested in this game. Of course, Chandler Morris is the quarterback. I can certainly understand the play, but I'm not going to overly prioritize it.
Yeah, I like Chandler Morris. I'll be honest. When you go down and you're like 12th best quarterback pricing wise, 7,800. The guy's been really good so far. He's thrown at least 263 yards in every game. I do like him. I'm with you though. I don't think I love this game is probably much, based upon the point total. 63.5 is the second highest on the board, only trailing the one that we'll get to later with Colorado and Oregon. So there is stuff to be liked here, but I don't love a full game script. But I do like Morris. I am interested in Bailey from a running back perspective. I think he's, 56 attempts in 3 games. That's all when we talk about college running backs, a lot of times there's a lot of shared opportunities. If you're giving me almost 20 carries a game, I like it, and especially with a guy that's, again, under 7K, reasonably priced. So those are two I'm looking at, Monty Bailey and Chandler Morris. Other side, I'm with you. SMU's weird this year. It's not your Tanner Mordecai type of year. It's they've been a little bit slower paced, but there's not the running back situation is very curious. Got a lot of DNPs and other things going on. I won't take guys that I just don't know what they're going to do.
I'm totally with you there. I'm going to move us over to the Texas A&M Auburn game. Listen, my favorite receiver play of the week, maybe my favorite receiver in the country. I'm not going to commit to that one yet, but he's up there. Is Evan Stewart. They throw him the ball so much.
Yeah.
I mean, the volume is just incredible. That is the dream formula in DFS. The price is not adjusted to the amount that they throw him the ball. He is the best player on their team. He is going to get the ball early and often. To me, he's just a plug and play. Get him in there. He is a high floor, high ceiling. Kind of almost feels like a can't miss to me, even against a strong Auburn defense.
No, I agree. He sat out last week when they were playing, an FBS division team, and it looked like, Wegman kind of struggled because of that. And, he kind of needed his guy. They shouldn't be struggling against teams like that. He'll be back and play for this week. Auburn's a huge game. And their secondary hasn't been, it's been okay. Not like great. So yeah, I like that. I'm curious on the Peyton Thorne stuff. 8K is not a bad price for, I've already seen Van Dyke light up Texas A&M. So Thorne, one of those guys, he doesn't wow me, but at 8K, he could be considered. I'll just say that. I'm not in love with him, but A&M's been really soft against quarterbacks this year.
They have been, but I'll say this. Thorne ran 11 times for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was against a not equivalent competition team.
Right.
He is not going to do that against.
Yes. Yeah.
No, he could have a good game throwing because that's more what he is. He's a thrower. He's not like a runner. He's not a prolific runner. That was him taking advantage of a cupcake matchup. Don't make that your expectation of him because if you know him he used to play at Michigan State. This is a pocket passer.
Yeah, and a guy that likes to throw picks. So I'm with you. I think the best play is Evan Stewart on the board. I will say I'm not very tempted to go to 8,900 Weidman. I think I'd rather just go Stewart naked. I feel it.
I agree. I mean, look, you'll see Weidman does have 2 rushing touchdowns, which does give him that upside, but he's not really a runner. He just kind of got a few opportunities around the goal line, which I guess still counts. And not take it away. That is very similar to the formula they're used with Bo Nix, right? Like Bo Nix doesn't run for 100 yards. He just gets the goal line touches and scores around the end zone.
Yeah.
Why? It's a tricky one. I feel like at 9K, even though Weidman's been good, I just feel like there's probably better options. So I agree.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I agree. He can get you 25 to 30. I don't think he can get 40, and that's why I'd rather play some other guys at that price.
I agree. All right, I think we can. This one's going to be really quick. Michigan's going to completely roll over.
Hey,
Rutgers.
but our state though, Rutgers is playing better football. Let's give them.
They are, and I want to give a shout out to why do they not have him even on here? Monagai, there he is. Their Rutgers running back has been excellent. I mean, he's been really good. This is probably not the spot to target him.
Right.
I could see a scenario where Rutgers has some success early and keeps it close before they get blown off, and maybe he does decently at 5,300, but Michigan's going to kill him, so probably not. The only other person to even mention here is Blake Corum, who the sky's the limit in this game.
It's funny. He has 6 touchdowns already and has barely played. So this week, if Rutgers at least keeps it somewhat close, I mean, it could be sky's the limit, exactly what you said. So I think Corum is definitely in play this week. The other one, I will say Roman Wilson, too. I mean, Wilson has been very good, and I can't believe he's still 5,500, averaging 23 DK points. So I know Rutgers D has been better, but I won't pair these guys together, but I'm going to play him, Corum and Wilson, in some one-offs.
That's totally fair. My only concern with Corum is 8,300 is a lot. That's a quarterback price. So he really's got to get you there. And I mean, he certainly can. That's not the point, the question. But the question now becomes, is there another running back at 6,500 that can also do the same thing that I can just save that salary on? That's what you got to think about there.
Yeah. And seeing Blake Corum and seeing Rutgers, you're going to see 20% ownership. You are going to see people just say, yep, just because it's Blake Corum. So,
yeah, it's just an easy plug and play. You're absolutely right. All right. This is one that's a big one. This BC Louisville game. This is maybe my favorite game to stack of the week outside of the obvious. This is the one where I want to be different and I want to load up on. My number one quarterback of the week is BC's quarterback, Castellanos. This is a running quarterback that we love. He's under 6K. Great. Now we have a cheaper guy that has the point upside that we want. He has 32 carries in his last 2 games. He's rushed for over 67 yards in every single game this year. He's got 2 rushing touchdowns. Week 1, he was not very good through the air, but since he threw for 202, 300 yards and a touchdown, if he gets the passing to go along with the rushing upside, again, a matchup against Louisville that should be a decently high scoring, the sky's the limit. So in terms of finding that value quarterback that has the upside, for me this week, Castellanos is the one.
I got 3 quarterbacks under 6K that I really like. Castellanos is my favorite. I watched him. Look, I've told you guys before, I'm a Florida State fan. He played really well against a good Seminoles defense last week. He impressed me. And like you said, the carries are there. The guy, he's a competitor. He's not giving up. He's fighting the whole way. Really like him this week. Louisville has led up a ton to 2 opposing quarterbacks that haven't been good. Castellanos, really like maybe the top play at quarterback this weekend. And I'm going to pair that and run it back with my first or second favorite play at running back, Jordan. Jordan's just been awesome. Ali, yeah, we love. But with Jordan still at 6,500, getting all those carries, and has just been an absolute, I know it's only been like 32 carries, but he's got 18 in a game that meant something finally. He's the guy. So I like him. And I actually would be interested in, on the other side, BC's running back, Kyle Robichaud at 5,200. Last 2 weeks, 40 carries.
I totally agree. I like both these backs. I'm disappointed they came all the way up on Jordan's price because they had him priced down. He's still worth playing. BC stinks stopping the run. Yes. This is going to be a spot where if they've committed to giving him carries finally, like they gave him 18 last week, this is an absolute smash spot for Jordan. And I like Robichaud because we've seen running backs have big days, and especially throwing to him. He could have a few catches in this spot. At 5,200, with the amount of touches that he gets, it's just underpricing for his usage. So, in a spot that I think has the potential to go over, I think both guys are very much so in play. And then the receivers, Thrash is the number 1 guy on Louisville. I'm going to get some exposure to Thrash. He's been very good. But if you want to pair some guys with Castellanos, as we said, he's one of my favorite quarterback plays. The 2 guys I'm looking at, and my favorite one is going to be Bond. Louis Bond is only 3,900. He is so cheap. He's got the most targets from Castellanos. He caught 2 touchdowns already. They get a guy under 4K here in this matchup. I think makes a lot of sense. So Bond, favorite value receiver, favorite guy to pair. The second play is O'Keefe. O'Keefe transferred from UCF. He was a stud at UCF. This isn't as explosive as an offense as they were, but this is a guy that we saw last year would have been the top price receiver on most slates. And so now he's not in as great of a situation, but he certainly has the talent and the upside. They're getting him involved in the offense. This could be a spot where he finally breaks through.
Great points. Love them both. O'Keefe was really good again last week. So the eye test passes for me. And like you said, he was a stud receiver at another passing school. So as long as they start opening up the game, he's going to be a prime target. I like O'Keefe probably, again, I love the Bond call. They're right there. 1 or 2. Those are great value calls.
For sure. All right. Now the one we got to figure out, right? This Miami Temple game. Miami is an explosive offense this year. And this looks like a great spot for them. Problem is, there's a storm coming.
Yeah.
And it's going to be nasty weather. And how much do you want to trust a air it out offense in a rainstorm? And that's a decision you have to make. I wanted to play a lot of these Miami receivers. There's even the Temple's top receiver I really liked in Wright, but with this nasty weather, I think I'm going to have to scale back on my exposure to this game. What say you, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. So I live about 10 miles from the stadium. My buddy's a Miami fan. He's going to the game, and he's already ponchoed up. I mean, it's coming, and it's going to be wet down here. So it's going to be a different type of game. The Lincoln Financial Field is where Temple plays their home game, so it's a good quality field. But the fact of the matter is, I'm with you, Joel. I'm stepping back with my exposure. Now, that doesn't mean I think Restrepo is still a guy I want to get involved. He, 5,800 is just still low price for a guy that gets a lot of targets, I should say, with Miami. And even with the rain, I think he's going to be fine. The problem with Restrepo, look at that number, 0 TDs this year, and still has been putting up almost 20 DK points and hasn't scored a touchdown. So all he does is need to break one in the end zone, and he's busting this thing. So I'm still in Restrepo, and that's my other Xavier, right? We talked about one earlier. But you're right. Wright might play a little bit, especially with 4,400. But that rain it's a problem. It could be heavy too, and I just think the winds are going to be okay. But the balls are going to be slippery. So I just got to back off what I liked. But Restrepo's still in play for me. No Van Dyke. For me, no Van Dyke. If it's Van Dyke, it's 10% or less.
I agree. For context, the reason I really loved Wright was because in week 1, they threw to him 14 times. 14 targets for a player. And now this is a game where they're not going to be able to run. Miami's way bigger and better up front. They're going to be forced to throw. They'll be playing from behind. He can get another 15 targets. 15 targets at 4,400 is a smash play. But now my concern is if it's pouring rain, they might only have 10 completions all game. So do what you will in a weather game there. If the weather was nice, there's some good plays. If you want to be scared of the weather, which I might be, then that's a decision that you got to make. So
yep.
We'll move on over to this KU BYU game. This game has some interesting plays in it. We saw this isn't your Kansas of old. This Kansas team is good. They're a good football team. They have playing. Jalen Daniels is one of the better quarterbacks. He's an awesome fantasy quarterback at 8,400. He hasn't shown the rushing upside this year, but for those of you who have been following, he has it. It's coming one week. This certainly could be the week. From early look at ownership, he looks pretty low owned. If he's going to come in under 5% owned, I will get more exposure to him because he has the ability to break any slate. He can run for 2 and throw for 3, and they're a pretty explosive offense. So I like Jalen Daniels a good amount here. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, I do. I like him a lot. And, I mean, when we want to look in the passing game, I think there's several ways you can go. I think the tight end's in play in this one. I think Fairchild's a very good tight end. We're tight end Westbrook's here with the CFB Masterminds. And, I mean, he had a decent week last week of 5 for 74. So I like him in this game. On the flip side, and I know you'll probably like a couple other Kansas players. I mean, Neal's always a very viable option. I do like Keaton Slovis. I talked about 3 quarterbacks under 6K that I like. Slovis is the third, averaging almost 24 DK points a game. You've heard of him, started in USC, has been passed around a few places. He can play. And Kansas, as Joel said, is good, but they're still very vulnerable against the pass. So I think Slovis is in play this week. Daniel Slovis, you could even get interesting to play them on the same slate. But, yeah, those are the kind of plays I like in this game.
It's a good call. Slovis is certainly affordable enough. And especially the receiver on BYU I like is the tight end Rex. Rex is a monster. He's 6'6". They get him involved. I mean, he's got 2 pretty good weeks in a row at 4,500. He gets in the end zone. He'll certainly pay off that price tag. So Rex is the run back I want in this spot for BYU.
It's interesting. Let me just a quick sidebar because we do this and we love this. Our favorite BYU receiver last year was who?
Puka Nacua.
So I drafted him in a dynasty league about 7th round. I just was able to turn him around for Aaron Jones and 2 first-round draft picks because I wanted Puka so bad.
That's a good trade.
Because we watch college football a lot and we love this. Look, I couldn't say no to that. I mean, I love Puka, but Puka, and me and also injury prone.
Very.
And that's the problem. He balls out. When he plays, he balls out, but the dude gets hit a lot and has a lot of soft tissue injuries. So anyway, interesting sidebar. Isaiah Rex, I think, is similar to Puka in a way. A very good possession receiver, tall, like you said, big player. BYU put some, they put some talent out there.
Yeah. No, BYU, they got talent. And let's not forget, Their running back, one of the cheapest plays of the week, he's a freshman, Martin. At only 4,900, they really started to feature him last week with 23 carries. He scored twice. If you're looking for a value running back of 4,900, you in a game that I think will go over the total, I certainly think Martin's in play here.
Yeah, good call. I agree.
All right, now the Texas Tech West Virginia game. Listen, West Virginia, I can be quick about. They are not the most explosive team. They're pretty bad on defense. They're a great team to target to go against. They do have a very talented running back, and especially because, which we're going to go with next, Texas Tech's quarterback is going to be in my big three this week. He is going to be one of the guys I'm going to play a lot of. He runs a lot. They throw the ball a ton. This West Virginia team is not good at stopping the pass. It's a great spot for Tyler Show and this Texas Tech offense. I will be playing a lot of him, and the run back is going to be Donaldson. Donaldson was a 5-star recruit. He's West Virginia's best player. He hasn't been outstanding this year, but this looks like a spot where he could break through.
I agree. And Donaldson, I mean, he was really good last year. And we were getting him at like 5K ranges, and 5,900 is still, I think, underpriced for him. 49 carries in 2 games. He also is decent in the past. I know he hasn't got many receptions this year, just one, but I know they want to get him more. He's played Penn State and Pitt, 2 decent teams. This is a good spot. I'm with you. I think CJ Donaldson is a really sneaky good play. I like Shao, but I also like Taj Brooks. So I'm feeling like Taj Brooks is a play this week. Again, Texas Tech is a team that, does distribute the ball to their backs. And a lot of times it's in the run pass option game. So like you said, I think you can take advantage of the West Virginia passing game, but Taj will still get his touches. He's one of those rare number one backs. Look at his carries. He's at 36 in 3 games, but for the most part, he's the only guy getting them.
I'm laughing at Taj Brooks. Isn't me? Doesn't feel like Taj Brooks has been there for about 8 years.
No, it's not you. It is not you. It's Jordan Travis. Yeah, Florida State. Yes,
he's been there a long, long time. But yeah, you're right. He's a good player, and certainly a spot where he can get there as well. The pass catchers in this game are good for Texas Tech. Like I said, we're playing a lot of the passing game here. Bradley's the guy. He's the number one option. He's the guy I'm going to get exposed to. He doesn't break the slate. I'm not going to force Bradley into every lineup. I'm definitely going to play him, but he does kind of need to score to get there. So I'm not going to overdo it, but Bradley's the guy there. The second option is probably Price on the Texas Tech side. He gets a lot of targets as well, but I'm not going to go crazy here with these pass catchers.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think this is a game that is a sneaky stack game. I think it's one of those I could see 60s. Plenty of points in this game, 60 plus points. So I like it. I think you got to get involved in this one.
There you got it. Now, we'll move over to this Utah-UCLA game. Our sneaky play of the week last week, Nate Johnson, is going back to the bench for Cam Rising. Nate Johnson was awesome. He was a lot of fun last week. He'll be fun to watch probably next year when he takes over the job. Cam Rising is awesome, and there's no question who the guy is. Cam Rising, for what he does, is a little overpriced. I'm not going to play him in DFS. He's a good football player. I would take him on my team, but for scoring fantasy points, I just don't think we need to pay that much for him. These are 2 teams that want to run the ball. They both play good defense. This is not a great DFS environment. So for the most part, I'm going to be looking elsewhere.
I agree. If I want to go super value, though, listen, I know Dalton Kincaid's in the NFL and was a great tight end for Utah last year and is a flash player. When he got hurt a couple of times, I really was impressed by Thomas Yasmin. And he's at 3,300 tight end for Utah. He hasn't done much yet this year, but you're asked to do something against UCLA where you might play a fast-paced game. I think Yasmin could be a sneaky value play for all of us this week. 3,300. He's going to be in my lineups here or there. So, yeah. That's one of my plays of value this week.
Is Queeth out?
So right now they're saying questionable, obviously, is what we're hearing. So, yeah.
If Queeth's out, then I think Yasmin could be really interesting.
Yeah, Yasmin, I think, was still getting a decent amount of, they're playing 2 tight end sets. But I'm with you. If he's out, even better.
Agreed. And to the point we were making earlier on the show, at 3,300, you can take that risk, right? He only needs to get you 3-4 catches and boom, right? That's going to pay off that price tag. If he scores an points, it's gravy. So these are the types of plays where you're looking for those cheap guys that you can kind of make the rest of your lineup filled out with.
Are we ready?
All right, here it is. The game of the week, Coach Prime. Now, listen, I am a huge believer of Coach Prime. I am amazed by what he's doing with this program. I think Shedeur is going to be a top 5, maybe top 10 pick in the NFL. He looks like one of the best quarterbacks in college I've seen in a long time.
It's so amazing to watch this transformation and someone doing it different. I always love different. Like, you don't have to do things the same way, and Coach Prime's doing it different. And to bring his son over from Jacksonville State, right? They brought this whole new environment to Colorado, and it's just crazy. And Sanders, like, to me, when he came over, I was like, okay, he'll be all right. No, he's not all right. He's an NFL-style quarterback. He is good. And he's a guy that hasn't had under 29.7 points yet in DK, and that was in a game against Nebraska where he started slow. This game, it's at 70 points. I can't see how it stays under. Now, I'm not calling that a best bet or anything like that, but this game is where we want to be.
This is the game. This is where the points are going to be flying. Now, this is where I'm going to talk about you with you, Dave. I'm concerned by my fandom of Colorado is getting too high. I love them. I want them to win every week. But the reality is, and I hate to admit this, I don't want to say this, Oregon's a much better team.
They are.
We saw what Colorado State did to Colorado last week. They moved the ball at will. If Colorado State can move the ball at will on you, Oregon's going to do whatever they want. Most Oregon games are such big blowouts that Bo Nix doesn't even play in the fourth quarter. Rarely does Bo Nix get to play into a fourth quarter. That's why I never play him, because the game's never close enough for his price tag to be in the game. This game, I do think I don't think Colorado's going to get completely blown out where Bo Nix gets pulled. I think it's going to be competitive enough where Bo Nix plays. But I do think Oregon's going to win the game because I think Oregon's better up front, and I think Oregon's better on defense than Colorado is. And I think Bo Nix having the ability to play 4 quarters and get he hasn't ran for a TD this year. Last year, what did he run for? Over 10 TDs. I mean, he ran for a TD, multiple TDs. He is due for a running touchdown. They can throw the ball over the place. 90% of the time, I tell you, Bo Nix is overpriced. Don't play him. This is the matchup where this game can go completely nuclear, and I'm getting as much Bo Nix in there as possible because I don't see how Colorado can stop him.
Preach. Last week, Colorado State passed for almost 400 yards. Colorado State, a running foundation at that school that they've been. So I'm Prime knows it. He knows it. They that defense is so bad. It's really bad. So, and now with their best guy out, Travis Hunter, it's going to get worse. I'm all in on Bo Nix this week. I don't want to pay up for quarterbacks very often. I don't pay up for Bo Nix more than 1 or 2 times a year like you. But this is a week I'm good with it. Now, there will be no way I can find a way to do run backs in this game. I just don't know how I'm going to be able to afford run backs. I'm going to have to get Bo Nix and Oregon in one side and pair him with some cheap quarterbacks and some other values that we talked. And I'm going to get Sanders and some, Xavier Weavers on the other side. I think it's going to be tough to really run back this game. What do you think?
I'm going to try. I'm going to do it because my thought is this. Play in this game, like one of 2 things happens. It goes crazy, like we're saying it can, and they score. The score legitimately. This could end up being one of those 51-40 games, like just absurd scoring. If that's the case, just get as much exposure to the game as possible. Guys are going to be scoring left and right, and as long as you have as much exposure to this game, you'll be part of it. If it doesn't become that, then I just want to be out of it because these guys are priced up high. I'll find guys elsewhere, so it's kind of like give me all in on the game, or I'll just kind of fade it and find me the ownership and elsewhere. Yeah. So that's how I'm thinking about it. I'm going all in as much as I can if I'm playing it, or I'm going to just kind of go elsewhere.
All right, let's have some fun real fast here, Joel.
Yeah, that's it.
Let's build a run back real fast. Let's see where we could build, and I'm going to do it right now while I'm on my phone. Let's talk some names. So here's some interesting. One thing I wanted to bring up. I won't do it necessarily in my run back now, but if you hear Austin McCaskill is playing at 3,800 for running back, he is a guy that tore his ACL back in 2021. and transfer to Colorado this year. He has been cleared. Where does that put him? I don't know, but that could get your cheap play in this game. That could get you some potential, big play guys. But let's build one real fast. I'm with you. Let's start at least with Bo Nix at quarterback. We both agree we'd rather play him than Sanders.
Yep.
Okay.
I got a lot of this lineup already in here and built for.
All right, let's go. Let's see it.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Now, listen. I got 5 players in this game into the lineup already. That's probably the max. You could probably.
And then what do we have left?
Now we got 4K per position. So I'm gonna go and get you that cheap BYU running back that I just told you about.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so now we got 3,500. All right, so let's say we do go McCaskill. I mean, that's a huge risk here.
It's a huge risk,
but it's possible.
3,300 is tough, though, right?
And then you go 3,500. That's tough. I told you I really like that Boston College receiver Bond. He's my favorite, really cheap play. So let's say I go with him. And then you leave you 34. Yeah, so you're grasping at straws for one position here.
Yeah,
I could do some things a little differently. Maybe I drop Weaver, and then it gives me a little bit more room to fit up. But basically, you can do it. The problem is, here's the problem with Shedeur. He doesn't really run. So if he's going to get there, at least one, probably 2 receivers are going to help. And there's no point of playing Shedeur without receivers because he doesn't run. So those receivers, someone has to get him there with it. So when I put in the receivers, that's when you start running out of money.
So Yvonne, one of our writers on Win Deadly Sports, he's talking Ferguson, tight end for Oregon. Terrence Ferguson could be a good play. If we could squeeze him in somewhere, maybe you still might have.
I like it. All right, we'll put Ferguson in here. I guess I could put Ferguson instead of Franklin.
Yeah.
I really like Franklin.
No, I love Franklin. I don't know that you got to keep Franklin. You have to. I think you do.
I guess the way you'd have to do this is this. We'd have to play. This is what we have to do. We'd have to play Oregon's tight end who had that big game in overtime instead of Weaver. Now we still have 2 Colorado pass catchers, and now we have enough money to put in a running back. So let's say we go full slate.
What do we got left?
We got plenty. We got 6,200. So I can go down here and we can play our favorite play.
Ali. Yep. Yeah, Ali. Yep, exactly. Okay.
And now you got a loaded lineup.
Yeah, I like it. So what do we got? 5 players from this game?
1, 2, 3, 4, 6 players.
6. Yeah, so it can get done. Yeah.
We can get done.
I like it too. Yeah, I will say that. Your great point on Franklin. He's like my number 1 receiver this weekend. I gotta play him, and I gotta play him a lot.
I'm with you. Listen, he's gotten there this year in 3 games. I guess the Texas Tech game was close. He got 6 for 100, but Portland State was 81-7. He probably played a half, and he had 32 points. Hawaii was 55-10. He maybe played a half. He had 4 for 83. With 4 quarters, I think he's going to go for 150. He scores a touchdown too. 6,900 is a reasonable price. And the biggest fear for Franklin would have been having to be covered by Hunter, and Hunter's hurt, so he doesn't have to be covered by the best corner. So he's gonna have a field day.
So more often than not, I'll probably end up with, like I said, I'll probably try and run 2 or 3 to 4 down a side, or 3 down a side with a run back, but I might not get to 5 or 6, but there's ways to get there. So I love it. I love that you showed that we can get there and still have Ali.
You can get there. It's possible. It's tough, but it's possible. All right, we got 2 games left on this slate. We got Bama, Ole Miss. I'll start here. I don't know. I have no idea why Alabama is a touchdown favorite in this game. That just has been baffling to me.
It is.
My biggest bet of the year I've already made on Ole Miss. Ole Miss is the better football team than Alabama.
No doubt.
Alabama is not that good this year. I hate to break it to people, but they're not.
No, and the first time they dropped out of the top 10 in, I don't know, 15 years. And the bottom line is Lane Kiffin is licking his chops. He can't wait for this opportunity. And to do it in Alabama, even better. Like, this is like, he's circled this game 3 times. He can't wait to show them up, and he will not have any mercy, Cobra Kai style. So I'm with you. I love Ole Miss tomorrow, and quite frankly, Judkins is just the guy.
Yeah, they got Judkins, and not that Jackson Dart can play. They got a real quarterback over there. This is a really good offense. I mean, always Lane Kiffin's got a good offense, and he knows how to coach it. But they got talent. I think Ole Miss wins this game and they win handily. If you're going to bet on the game, have some fun with it. I'm going Ole Miss heavily. From a DFS perspective, my issue is, listen, Alabama is not a cupcake matchup. I mean, they are Alabama. They're decent on defense. This isn't a spot where I think Ole Miss comes out and drops 50 points. I think you can play one or two of those guys. I think they're going to win the game, but this is not a smash DFS spot.
I think you're right. Watching Alabama against South Florida last week, it was disgusting. Like, absolutely. Like, they can't move the ball. And even when they can, it's like it's a really slow pace. It's bad. South Florida is not a good football team, and they struggled immensely with them. Ole Miss can do what they want, but they can't control the pace if Alabama is playing like that. So I'm with you. I think we're going to have our spots here, but Dart is still in play. No doubt about it for me. I know it's a little pricey, but, averaging 33 points, DK, he's in play. He can beat this team.
With 15 rushes, 14 rushes a game.
Yes.
He'll be in play. I totally agree. Excuse me. All right. The last game on the slate is going to be Michigan State and Maryland. Another kind of yucky DFS kind of game. Michigan State's a complete mess. Their coach got fired. They don't really have a quarterback. They want to run the ball, but this Maryland team is better than you think on defense. I'm not interested in Michigan State on offense whatsoever. On Maryland side, 2-2 is too priced up for what he does. I don't want to play him at 9K. Hemby is their best player. At 8K, I just think there's better options. I like Hemby. I don't think you need to play him at 8K. The guy I'd be most interested in taking a flyer on, if anyone, is Dyches, the tight end on Maryland.
There you go. I was all over it. Yep, 4,700. I think great play. I do. Michigan State hasn't stopped anything this year.
Yeah, and they throw him a lot. I mean, he has 6 catches, 4 catches. So he's the guy that they go to at 4,700. He's got some upside, but if he doesn't score, it's hard for me to see him hitting. So he really is kind of touchdown dependent. But he is their go-to pass catcher in this offense.
Yeah, so for me, like you said, Michigan State's a mess. They've really struggled mightily this season. They're lost without their coach. Losing last week 41-7. It's bad. For me, I'll probably see some lineups with Hemby and Dyches as my pairs. I'm like you. I think 2-2 is a little too priced at 9K and averaging just 20 points a game. Could he go for 30? Yeah. But if there's other guys that can go for 30, they're in the 6K, 7K range. So, but I'm interested in probably playing a running back wide receiver pair in this game for Maryland. I think they can put up points.
I'm with you there. That's a wrap. That's it for the DFS slate. As Dave said earlier in the show, tomorrow's going to be fun. It's a rainy day here in the East Coast. So you stay in. There's some exciting college football games. We got some action. The DFS slate is going to be a fun one. All of our favorite games, or most of them at least, happen to be at 3:30. So you can get your lineups in and then wait till the afternoon to watch your teams kind of climb up the leaderboards, which is always the most fun way to play. So I'm super excited for tomorrow. Dave, what's your favorite bet of the day?
I mean, you talked about one already. I think Ole Miss is a great play. In the end, I actually like Notre Dame. I think Sam Hartman has proven to me that if you can bring a passing offense to that team with Austin Estime there, I know Ohio State has those weapons. I just think the quarterback is just a big question mark still. I like Notre Dame a little bit tomorrow too.
I agree with you. I think that Ohio State offense has not looked as good as we would have thought it would have. They've seemed like they're still trying to figure things out. Notre Dame is not the team you want to still figure things out on. Notre Dame's a very good football team with Sam Hartman there. They're coming. I think Notre Dame wins the game as well. So I'm with you on that.
I'll add one more. I do think if there was a time, and obviously it's a little bit with heart, but if there was a time for Florida State to actually put a stamp on the ACC, it's tomorrow. Otherwise, it's still Clemson's in play, and they're giving this away. They got one chance to really put Clemson away. I think getting 2 in Clemson, I think they got a good chance to do it. I think last week, them barely beating BC is actually a really good thing for Mike Norvell. I think it, and you watch how good LSU was last week. They beat a good LSU team soundly. Let's not forget that. Clemson lost to a decent Duke team. I still think the value is there in Florida State tomorrow.
I totally agree. I think Florida State's a better team. The only caveat that has me a little nervous about Florida State is this is all Dabo's got left.
I know.
Like, this is it. He comes to here and they got to win this game, but this season is over. So you got a desperate Dabo Swinney, and that's the only kind of saving grace on the Clemson side.
No, I agree, and that is dangerous. And in the same place, I hope Mike Norvell feels the same way with Florida State.
Yep.
You lose tomorrow and it's over. Like I hope he treats it that way too.
Yep. Well, we'll have fun with it tomorrow. Good luck this week. Come back. Let us see your green screens. We're going to win some money this week. I'm looking forward to it. Good luck. We'll see you next week, Friday night.
Can't wait. This is